Today I'm going to show you how to sell your services to a company by making sure that you are boardroom ready. Plus, before we go, I'll share with you language that you can use to feel more confident when you're meeting with decision makers, especially if you're just getting started in working with organizations as your clients, or you're making a switch from working with solo clients to working with organizations. Okay, so in this video, what I want to do is break down for you 4 specific steps you can take to make sure that you are boardroom ready for when you have those opportunities to get in front of a real decision maker who has the authority and the budget to really work with you and your firm. So we're going to start by looking at your business basics and making sure that you have these 5 business basics in place. The thing is, this is going to signal to decision makers that you are truly business ready. So let's take a look at those 5 now. The first thing that you want to make sure that you have in place is your legal business entity. And by that, I mean an LLC or an S Corp or some other type of business delegation. Now look, each one of these business delegations is going to have tax implications in terms of how you file your taxes and the taxes that are owed. So it's really important when selecting your legal business entity that you talk to your CPA or your tax accountant or whoever helps you make those kinds of financial decisions, so that you understand what those different business designations could mean to you when it comes time to pay your taxes every quarter. One of the most important reasons to set up a business is not only that it signals to decision makers that you take your business seriously, but it also means that that company, that corporation, isn't hiring you as an independent contractor. And if they hire you as an independent contractor, that could cause a tax problem for them with the IRS, because the IRS could come in and say, wait a second, this wasn't an external service provider. This was actually somebody that was behaving as an employee for your corporation. All sorts of issues can come up for companies if you're not established as an actual business entity. So be sure that you take care of that. The next piece of this is to make sure that you set up a true business checking account. Now, most banks are not going to let you set up a business checking account if you aren't a legal business entity. That's another reason that you have to do that first step. But having a true business checking account is really important because just about all companies today pay their outside service providers, experts, and vendors through direct deposit, through ACH. So you want to make sure that your bank account matches your business name so that it's all above board with the companies that are putting you into their accounts payable system. The next business basic that you want to have in place is your business insurance. Now, that sounds scary and really expensive. Usually, it's not very expensive at all. And even if you're not ready to invest in the business insurance, you want to at least know what it's going to cost and which provider you're going to go with, so that when you have that first big opportunity on the line, you already know which insurance company you're going to call so you can get set up with your policy to begin with. This is a great thing to talk to your business attorney about, as well as to your tax accountant, to make sure that you're choosing business insurance that is best going to protect you. And talk to the insurance company too. Talk to them about what professional liability is going to cover versus what general liability is going to cover versus errors and omissions, if that's required based on your area of expertise. Having that conversation with the insurance provider as well as the attorney that's working with you in your business and your tax accountant will make sure that you're protecting your business. And a lot of companies will require their outside experts to carry at least some level of insurance for the work that they're doing. The next business basic you want to make sure you have in place is a branded email address. So many folks out there today are still operating with their name at gmail.com. And when you walk into a meeting with a serious decision maker who's considering that they might invest $100,000, $200,000 or more with your firm, that does not signal that you are business ready if you're running around with an email address that's at Gmail or at Yahoo. The great news is it is very inexpensive to set up a business email address through something like Gmail. It's going to instantaneously elevate your brand and really communicate to decision makers that you are truly business ready. And the last business basic that's super important to put in place is making sure that you have a standard client agreement. And by agreement, I mean a client contract. You are doing business with real organizations. You have to have a contract that's been written by an attorney in your state who understands the laws and specifics of business in the state that you are incorporated in, or your LLC is filed in, or wherever your business entity was formed. This is not the place to DIY when it comes to your legal agreement. I know it can be really tempting to go online and find somebody else's agreement and just make a few edits and call it your client agreement. Don't do that. You don't know who their attorney was. You don't know what state that was written for. And most of all, you don't know what business risks that business owner wanted to protect against versus which liabilities and risks they were more open to absorbing. So get your own agreement so that you understand what's in it. This is not legal advice, this is business advice, but I will tell you the one thing you want to work with your attorney on is to make sure that there's always a cancellation clause. What's going to happen if a client pays a deposit, signs the agreement, you start work, and that client decides, wait a second, we don't want to do this after all. Make sure you work with your attorney to protect yourself, because the biggest what if you've got to protect against would be around canceled or delayed client projects. The next thing you want to do in order to be boardroom ready is to make sure you've updated your online presence to reflect the fact that you work with organizations. This is really important if you're just getting started or you're making that transition from working with solo clients to working with companies for the first time. And the two most important places that you want to update your business positioning is on LinkedIn and on your website if you have one. Now, here's something to know. You don't necessarily have to have a website in order to get started working with organizations. You do absolutely need to have a LinkedIn presence in order to approach decision makers. So you want to make sure that your LinkedIn title reflects that you work with organizations, and you want to make sure that your LinkedIn About section reflects that you work with organizations and the value that you bring to those companies or the problem or challenge that you're helping them solve. In terms of your website, you don't need to build a whole new website. You just want to make sure that your homepage reflects that you work with organizations. And again, what is that problem or challenge that you're helping organizations with, and what does your services suite include? Do not spend a lot of money or time building a fancy website to position yourself to work with companies until you've already landed 6 to 10 corporate clients. It's only then that you'll know what about your expertise is truly of value to organizations. The best way to know is when your message meets the market and they're willing to spend their money with you. That's how you know what really should go into your website. So make sure you're getting 6 to 10 clients before you put a huge investment into that site. But if you do have one, also make sure it reflects that, yes, you work with companies, here's what you do for them. Step number 3 to be boardroom ready is to make sure that you can concisely communicate your credibility to decision makers. And there are few key things that you can really focus on in building your credibility, even if you're just getting started working with companies for the first time. The first is your number of years of expertise and training that you've had doing the thing that you're now going to do for those organizations. Even if you're making a switch to now being a leadership coach, let's say, but you've spent 10 years as a leader. All that time being a leader gave you experience to bring to organizations. The next are your professional credentials, the degrees that you have, the certifications that you have, and the special training that you may have received. All of that matters in communicating your credibility. You also want to think about the organizations and the people that you've impacted. And it may not be organizations that have been your clients, but organizations that have been impacted by the expertise and the experience that you're bringing to the table. Maybe you worked inside of an organization for 5 years, and during that time, you led projects that impacted thousands and thousands of employees inside that organization. That counts because you're bringing that knowledge. That's part of who you are and that life experience that you've had, and bringing that to the table, especially when you don't have a client list yet, is really, really important to shaping how decision makers perceive you. And the other thing you can put together from a credibility perspective are the results from any successful projects or initiatives that you've led. It may be as a business owner doing something else. We worked with a business owner once who owned lots and lots of daycare centers. And while that person hadn't worked with corporations, the number of businesses that were started, the employees that she led, the investments that she made told a really compelling story. You may also have led projects inside of companies that got a 96% approval rating or helped improve employee engagement by 10%. If you were a part of that, that's all part of your credibility story. And step number 4 in being boardroom ready is to make sure that you align your expertise and the services that you offer to the priorities that companies have. And a great way to get boardroom ready around this is to really put yourself in environments that you can hear directly from decision makers, the language that they're using and how they describe their priorities and how they describe their challenges. And there are really easy, free ways to do this. The first thing you can do is start listening to industry podcasts where real leaders from real companies have candid conversations about what's going on inside their organization. The same thing goes for industry webinars. You would be surprised how many industry associations are hosting multiple webinars every single month that are open to the public, where they invite not only subject matter experts from those industries, but senior level leaders to come in and talk about their projects, their initiatives, their programs inside their companies. This is free training to really indoctrinate yourself into priorities and jargon that companies use so you don't feel like a fish out of water when you get the opportunity to meet with a decision maker. And last but not least, you can do your own insights interviews. I guarantee you there are people in your life right now who are working inside of organizations, the very kinds of organizations that you would like to call your clients. Set up 30 minutes to talk with them. Ask them about the projects they're working on, the priorities they've set for the year, the types of people who work for them, the job titles of the people in their team, their peers inside the organization, even how their organization is structured, what their services are, what their programs are in the company. All of that is a great primer for you to really start getting your feet wet so that when you have that opportunity for a meeting inside of an organization, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels normal and accessible, and you're confident and clear on how what you are doing aligns to the organization, and you can talk about it in the same way that you know those decision makers are talking about it every single day. Now, I promise to share with you specific language that you can use when you meet with a decision maker so that you don't feel apologetic or that you need to over-explain the fact that you're now going in a new direction working with organizations for the first time. All you have to do is say, I've evolved my experience doing XYZ for the last 10 years to now bring that expertise to organizations. It's really as simple as that. Every decision maker on the planet knows people who've taken what they did for 10, 15, 20 years and evolved it into the next thing. Don't over-explain. Say it once and move on. So now that you have some specific steps to help ensure that you're boardroom ready, there's a few more things that you need to know in order to start acquiring high-end corporate clients. So I've dropped a link in the description below. Click on that link now and I'll meet you there.